Don Lewis, coming to you from the beautiful metaverse, and more specifically from beautiful Danville, Illinois. And welcome to Midday with Rev Don. And if you follow Midday with Rev Don, you already know what I'm about to tell you, which is that you can type your questions or comments directly onto whatever platform you're watching on, and they will appear here in my chat room, and we can talk directly, which is my favorite part of this whole broadcast. So I hope that you will say hello, maybe you'll make conversation, and we will have an enjoyable time together. And this last couple of days, we were talking a bit about the 20th anniversary of the showdown at the Hoopeston City Council, and about the idea of liberty, of freedom, and what that means when you are a marginalized group. And, you know, being pagan, we're less marginalized than some groups. Because to a certain extent, we can just keep our mouths shut and we're not obvious. But that's not a good way to live, even if it is better than what is possible for some. And even that's not always possible for us either. Having to be afraid of what happens if people find out you belong to a particular group, in our case, a religion, is not a good way to live. It's a constant existential threat. And as I say, we must stand up for our right not to live in fear if we expect to have a right not to live in fear. And hello to Mary in the chat room. It's good to see you, Mary. Because, you know, in the end, a right cannot be given. It must be held. Because if it's given, it's only a privilege. If we feel we have the right, we must enforce it. And we must also build and maintain our own image. If we wish to be seen in a certain way, we must show ourselves in that way. And I'm not planning to speak much on this subject today, but I did want to revisit it for a moment and say, we must be mindful of our place in the world and making sure we have the place we want, because it's not going to be given to us. Could be taken from us if we're not careful. And you know, there's a famous saying that's very popular in the disability community: nothing about us without us. And we need to have a similar attitude. If others are making decisions of what rights we have or what status we have as a people, we're most likely not going to have rights or status. So what can we do on this? Well, we can vote. That's an obvious one. I know some people who feel their vote doesn't matter, but people wouldn't be fighting, wouldn't be paying all this money for election advertising if your vote didn't matter. And they wouldn't be fighting to restrict the votes of marginalized people if your vote didn't matter. So use it when you have it. But the other thing is we can take part in that wider world. And right in front of us is one of the best ways to do that, the Parliament of the World's Religions. The Parliament of the World's Religions is something you'll probably be hearing a lot about in the future on Pagan World TV. And hello to Bradley in the chat room. Good to see you, Bradley. Both from a these are the adventures we've had there to this is what is happening now. It's next month, the weekend of August 13th, or the week of August 13th, rather. On the 13th is the Parliament Parade in downtown Chicago. And it's been described as the Olympics of religion. It's a very important event. And it's equally important even if you don't attend. So often, those who are not in attendance ignore that this is happening. It's very important to magnify its existence so that even those who may not be there see that this has happened it has a message. And the message this year is defending freedom and human rights. It's the very message that we must be standing on. And hello to Sir Ed in the chat room, who says, love the idea to be able to film. And Sir Ed will be doing lots of filming at the Parliament. Our various people will. It's very important, and you'll be seeing it on Pagan World TV, along with all that we've already done. We have some of the deepest morgues regarding the Parliament that I think certainly any pagan group has, but I think many wider groups as well, because we were always on that technological cutting edge. We have video from the 1999 Parliament in South Africa. Not all of it has been transcribed, but we have it. I mean, we have video before the Parliament itself was doing video. And it's fascinating video. It's fascinating people. And it's also each time a moment in time. Because each Parliament has been in a different place. It's involved different people. Some people have been to every modern Parliament, including Sir Edward. Some have not, but have been to many. But often, people are only able to attend that one that is in their part of the world. Maybe they went to the South African Parliament. Maybe they went to the Australian Parliament. Maybe they went to the Spanish Parliament. Maybe they went to the Chicago Parliament. Maybe they went to the Australian Parliament. In each of these, or the Canadian Parliament, or even the online Parliament. And each has its own flavor, each had its own mix of people, but it was all dedicated to the same thing, advancing a better world. And why is this so important? It's important for a lot of reasons, but one of them is that the people who come here to the Parliament of the World's Religions, in many or most cases, are community leaders in their communities. Hello to Michael in the chat room. They are the ministers who serve their congregations. Sometimes they're the heads of their respective churches. They come from different parts of the world. They are people whose opinion matters in their community. And so if they come to Parliament, they see people from other religions, and they leave with a good opinion of them. They take that opinion home. One of the things that we've been seeing in the United States is certain regressive laws being passed in parts of Africa regarding the LGBTQ community. And this is something that the Parliament can counteract to some extent. When leaders of those religious communities come to the Parliament and see that this is not the world religious opinion, that it's 19th century opinion, it could make a difference. The work of the Parliament around the world makes a difference to how people look at these things. For us as Western pagans, having a positive presence at the Parliament that can be seen by all the people who come makes a huge difference to what they take home to their communities, whether it's in the United States or all around the world. And this is something that we must be mindful of. I was speaking briefly earlier, but often on how we must control our image. There are a few places where we get our image farther out into the world than at Parliament. I've often referenced the presence of the King of Benin at the Australian Parliament. There were a number of people from Africa and Australia at that Parliament because it was easier for them to get to than many others. There are people from the Ainu community at that Parliament. At the Canadian Parliament and probably at the Chicago Parliament, we'll see a much larger Native American population because it's easier to get to. In Spain, we saw a larger European pagan population than we might see in some other places because it's financially easier to get to the Parliament when it's held near you. But no matter where it's held, people are coming from all over the world. And to have a presence there is important. And to draw the attention of the people who aren't there, I think is equally important. A lot of people, you know, when the first parliament in modern times happened back in '93, Sir Edward was part of the volunteer staff for that parliament years in advance. And he was constantly talking to the Chicago Pagan community about this big thing that was going to happen. Most of them refused to believe it. Maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks before Parliament happened, when they saw it on the news, they suddenly realized, oh, this is real. And pretty much every damn one of them forgot they'd spent years bad-mouthing the idea and jumped on board, which is great, but so much better to know ahead of time. And so much more could have been done. So let us not be caught behind that. Let us see it now. Let us be prepared going in, and let us realize how many people don't think something like this even could happen, that the world's religions can come together in a peaceful way to talk. Let us show them. Let us show them the video. Let us share it with them. Let us get it out there. And who knows what minds may be opened by doing that. And that's my soapbox for the first half of this broadcast. And I think it's an important one. And, you know, many people find the Parliament personally transformative when they go. Partly because that idea of people from disparate religions being able to come together in a positive way is something a lot of people can't believe will happen, because there's so much hostility between certain religions. And, you know, those hostile religions aren't going to be there, but so many others will. And that's very important to understand and to see. And you can learn so much during just those few days. I remember how enthusiastic our Karelian contingent was to learn about Sikhism at, I believe, the Toronto Parliament. The Sikhs were there in force, and most people who do not come from a Sikh background, while they know that the Sikhs exist, they have limited knowledge of their teachings. And it was a wonderful occasion to learn so much more, like what the turban means to a Sikh person. And they were doing turbans for anyone who would let them do them, because to them, the turban is a symbol of freedom from oppression. Because when Sikhism formed, the kind of turban that they wear was only permitted to the oppressor, not to the ruled, but only to the ruler. And as a sign of their independence, when they overthrew that ruler, they put on that turban and have worn it ever since. And they encourage others to try it as just a symbol of freedom and solidarity. And they have their daily feast, the Langar, which anyone can attend, which is a part of all Sikh temples, I believe, and is their daily act of charity to anyone who wants to come. And these are wonderful things that, for most of us, you know, we may have had some knowledge if we've studied religion other than our own, but to be able to experience it was wonderful. And you get that also with so many other groups at Parliament. You get to see the Buddhists doing sand paintings. You get to see all kinds of religious musical performances and meditations and discussions of religious teachings and policies and challenges. There's so much to do, you can't do it all. But what you can do will be wonderfully informative. And if you're Karelian, we do still have, I believe, some tickets available at the special group discount. So if you're interested in that, contact Lori Blackman. And it may still be a possibility, even though we're so close, because we've worked with the Parliament so much. And elsewhere in the news, I'm planning my next 2 seminars. And those next 2 seminars, the seminar for July will be on oracle work. Basically what it is, how to do it, um, different ways of pursuing it, and also what you can expect from it. And then my seminar for August will be Messages from the Parliament, or Lessons from the Parliament, rather. Talking about, just as I'm talking now, about past parliaments and aspects of the future one. By the time of the seminar in August, it will have happened. And so I will be there at the seminar to tell you about what I learned from this parliament and what I take away from it, as well as talking about parliament in general. I think these will both be fascinating, and there will be buttons to get tickets at CorellianPublishing.com. But if you're part of the seminar tier of my Patreon, you can come as part of that. So those are my upcoming seminars. I'm looking at focusing on seances in October because they're always popular. And of course, if you're interested in that sort of thing, you can always get a reading from me. And in fact, for the next few days, I'm going to offer a special discount. If you're part of my Patreon, or if you watch this program and you set up a reading with me before the end of the week, I'll give you 20% off. And just reference this broadcast, and we will include that for you. And you don't have to schedule the reading to take place during the 3 days, but the offer is going to be for these 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And why am I offering this discount? Well, the electric bill is due, and other bills are coming, and a good little infusion of cash would be very welcome. And people have been so supportive of me that I appreciate it greatly, and I thought I would offer a discount for people who are interested and serve everyone's purposes. And you can even schedule it months in advance if you want. So contact me by instant messenger or by email, donlewishp@aol.com, if you're interested in doing that. And the seminars will be available later today, and we have lots of things going on. We have the new book Travel Magic by Lisa McSherry, which is now available for pre-order at CorellianPublishing.com. We have the 5 Mystic Secrets multilingual edition available at CorellianPublishing.com. So lots of things going on, and lots of things being done. And now also that little discount offered to viewers of this program and members of my Patreon exclusively. And I have to say, I resisted doing Patreon for a long time. Partly because I had so many things on my plate when I was actively running the church and actively involved in the school, that I didn't know if I'd be able to fulfill Patreon, the needs of Patreon. But now that those things are no longer part of what I do, I'm actually finding I'm really enjoying Patreon. I'm enjoying being able to talk to the patrons. I'm enjoying putting out things like the monthly newsletter and so forth. And I hope that those of you who are on the Patreon are also enjoying. And so these are the things that have been in my mind today. It's interesting being here in this house. It's the first time I've had a house of my own in a long time. And I really had to hit the ground running, because I found myself in need of a new home with zero income before I even left the hospital bed. But your support made it possible, and I want to thank you for that again. It certainly was a learning experience in many ways, and it's been an adventure also, and one that is going forward in good ways. And it's good. It's good to be to be here, and it's good to be with you. And that will continue, um, who knows, maybe for the remainder of my life. Probably not this particular house, but sharing this journey with you. And I'm enjoying it. I mean, there's a level where I've shared my life for a long time, but I was doing it in an official capacity and now in a personal capacity. And that's different. And it takes a little getting used to. I've talked about that difference between I and we several times. That when I'm here talking to you now, I'm talking as myself, not as any office that I formerly or currently still hold, but more as just a person. And in some ways, I've not been in that position before. It's a new thing. And Mary says, I love this time with you. Thank you, Mary. I love it too. One of the Instagram channels that I follow is Schiffer Diane. And Schiffer Diane is a historical vintage enthusiast. She loves the 30s and 40s. And she dresses like she's in the 30s and 40s. She collects memorabilia of that era. But she's very grandmotherly. And she has her channel basically as if she's welcoming her neighbor into her house. And that's kind of what this is. And I'm reminded of that when I come here each day, that this is kind of like having you over for coffee or tea or what have you every day. And, I think of some of my older relatives who had situations like that. My father used to go every morning to the home of my Aunt Edith to have coffee with her. There were other friends who would do the same. And to me, that's kind of what we're doing. It's our daily visit, and it's a lovely time. And I hope that you're all enjoying it as much as I am. And as we go forward, I think that it will be only getting better. I am looking at having a guest interview tomorrow, which will be Thursday. And that will be Lisa McSherry, the author of the new Travel Magic book, and we'll be talking about the book. So I hope that you'll join us then. I can tell you it's a very interesting book. It is about travel magic and using magic to improve your travel experience. But at the same time, it's also an introduction to the idea of magic. And it includes many techniques that are not only helpful for travel, but helpful for everything in life. So it's a lovely book from the acclaimed author of Pagan 2.0. So I hope you'll consider possibly obtaining that book. It's in a handy travel size, and it I think will be very helpful for people. One of the things it talks about is sigil magic for travel. When you might worry about turbulence in your flight or delays in your flight, or whether certain things can be arranged. And Mary says that would be great right before our travels to Parliament. Exactly so. It would be. And, a lot of people who practice magic use it when they travel, but a lot don't think of it. And I think one of the best things about this book is that it points out to you the times when it's most useful, which you might not think of otherwise. So I highly recommend it. And tomorrow we'll be talking about it. So that's our plan for tomorrow. And, I mentioned that there hadn't been a lot of fireworks the other night. There certainly were last night. And it was interesting, particularly understanding that most of what I would be able to see would be amateur fireworks, but people were certainly enjoying them. And but at the same time, not in the same way I would have expected from like Jacksonville. So not as long and not as hard, but it certainly was here. And I really liked the idea from yesterday's show moving toward light shows using drones for this kind of celebration. I think that would be wonderful. I think that it's one of those ways you can use technology to improve your life. And I find that thinking as an artist, it offers some very interesting possibilities because, of course, those drone light shows can do things that fireworks, I mean, they can replicate fireworks, but they can do things fireworks could not do. And so it not only is a lovely way of having your traditional visuals, but also new ones that will open new vistas of beautiful artwork to people. So I highly endorse that idea. And again, tomorrow we'll be having Lisa McSherry talking about her new book, Travel Magic. If you're interested in my upcoming seminars, watch for them on my page later today. Oh, hello to Patty in the chat room. And Patty says, and our animal world would be happier. Absolutely. I think not only our house pets, but the natural world is impacted by fireworks in ways that are not good. That a light show would not disrupt in the same ways. Now, of course, anytime you have light at unusual hours, it does disrupt. But you know, in urban areas where this would happen, the light's already there. And so I think that it would be so much more environmentally friendly and also more creative in the long run, and less expensive. And the reason it would be less expensive is once you've bought the drone, and you'd need a good number of them, but once you've bought them, you only have to replace them periodically as natural attrition takes its toll, whereas with fireworks, you only use them once, and then you have to replace them. And so it's also a less expensive alternative in the long run. And so I think it has a lot to recommend itself. And Patty, it's good to see you in the chat room. I miss getting to talk to you. And Mary, I miss getting to talk to you directly. But this is a lovely way to talk. And so we will go forward and we will enjoy our time together, as we always have. So with that, we've come to the end of our half hour. And let us have our prayer. And we will conclude our day. Divine Mother Goddess, Divine Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you for all that you do for us in our lives and for being with us as we go forward, though we know you're always with us. And we ask you to help us to be mindful of the ways in which we can improve our world and our lives, and help us to see the ways to do this and have the courage to take action. Beloved Mother Goddess, beloved Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you with great love and with respect. And knowing you're always with us, but from respect, we thank you for your presence, and may you be blessed now and always. And I thank you for your presence, and if you enjoyed this broadcast, consider sharing it on your own pages so that other people can see it later. Patty says, blessed be to you and Ed. Thank you, Patty. And blessed be to you, blessed be to all of you. And I love you all. I love this time together. Again, please consider sharing the broadcast, and have a wonderful day. And until next time, may you bless.